now.
We'll call the meeting to order. We'll start out with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Roll call, Augie.
Farnham.
Here.
Helsley.
Here.
Patrick.
Here.
Voigt.
Here.
Zuber.
Here.
Bruner.
Here.
The next item on the agenda is to fill the vacancy for County Board District Number 1. The Republican Committee has recommended to the board Derek Lorenzen. Is there a nomination for that? Yes, Ms.
Yes, I would move that we accept the recommendation and approve Derek Lorenzen as the new board member for District 1.
Is there a second?
Sure.
Mr. Zuber. All those in favor?
Can we
Aye.
have a roll call? Do you mind?
Okay.
Roll call.
Roll call, please.
All right.
You think I'm going to second and not roll call?
No, I just thought it would be nice to have it.
Absolutely.
Helsley.
Yes.
Patrick.
Yes.
Voigt.
Yes.
Zuber.
Yes.
Bruner.
Yes.
Here.
All right. We'll now have the oath of office for Derek, Mr. Judge Garst.
I, Derek Lorenzen,
Having been appointed
to
the office of County Board Member, District 1,
the office of County Board Member, District 1,
in and for the counties of Edgar,
and for the counties of Edgar,
in the state of Illinois,
in the state of Illinois,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear and affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the state of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the state of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of County Board Member
of the office of County Board Member
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Welcome.
I think we all are. That's right.
Yeah.
You get the whole barrage.
Thank you. Looking forward to working with you.
Welcome, Derek. Okay, due to the resignation of Ben Janis as our chairman, we need to elect a new chairman for the board. And is there any nominations for chairman?
Chairman, I'd like to nominate Jeff Boyd for new chairman.
Okay, is there a second?
I'd like to second it.
Okay. Is there any other nominations? Hearing none, we've got a motion and a second for Jeff Voigt to be the new county board chairman. Would you like a roll call on that?
Yes.
Okay, all right, we'll have that.
Helsley.
Yes.
Patrick.
Yes.
Voigt.
Yes.
Zuber.
Yes.
Bruner.
Yes. I got one.
Lorenzen, I'm sorry.
Yes.
6-0.
All right.
Here's your seat back, Carl.
Is this where I make that motion about the chairman from now on being a non-paid office within the county?
Go for it. The new chairman will really appreciate that. I had a couple of comments that I wanted to make before I join the agenda here. I gotta get my paperwork out. The board's facing issues and projects. I just kind of wanted to highlight them. They're not all inclusive, but we've got the airport project, we've got the courthouse roof, we've got the continuing issues with the budget and making ends meet on decreasing amounts of money, and finally jail compliance. I know there are other issues, health department and some other issues, but these are the ones that kind of come to mind that we need to work together on. Communication leads to understanding and consensus, and that produces a product which could be our projects working together in achieving the goals that we've all set. And the chair will try to foster it whenever it can, good communication, understanding, so that we can reach consensuses among ourselves and move forward. That's the only way it's going to work. Additionally, the public is key in what we do. We need their support. This board and this chair will work hard to make sure that in the future that we have the right public input, that people have the feeling that their views are welcome, and that we'll work hard to come up with maybe some apparatus where questions can be answered or asked and answered, and in the long run foster better understanding with the public of what we're trying to do. So that's kind of what I'd like to set the tone. We haven't done all these things yet. We're going to be working on them this next couple of weeks, especially how to work together and foster. Most of us already work together pretty well. Additionally, I'd like to remind the public that we'd like to have civility amongst ourselves and with the public. We would like to make sure that they still realize that we'll have the public comment section, and we may have another section for questions and answers so that we can get back information to the public as they ask us. I know there's a couple of questions outstanding right now, and we'll try to get those resolved, but please feel free after the meeting, if you have questions or comments, that you see a board member or the chair or Augie so we can get the questions addressed that you may have. So with that, I'd like to go back to the agenda and go to the minutes. We need a motion to approve August 12th regular meeting and August 14th special meeting, along with August 31st special meeting. Do I hear a motion on that, please?
I'll make that motion.
Carl moves. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Mike seconds. Is there any further comment, any addition or corrections to the minutes as presented? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. They are approved. Claims of the county. You've all received claims of the county. Are there any questions or information that you need?
Mr. Chairman, if we could impose upon you a little bit, because you weren't this before and you're the one who usually does this, is there anything you would like to share about this?
Well, are there some items?
I don't have anything, but you usually, if there's anything you thought of.
I don't have anything at this point.
I'd make that motion then.
Okay, it's moved by Alan. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Bruner, a second. Any additional questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Okay, county board claims.
Mr. Chairman, there's a couple Scrivener's errors in there, as far as where somebody's put Medicare and reimbursement within the county board claims, and what those were really just mileage, minor stuff, right, cemetery. Okay, so those would be the only thing there, and taking out the Scrivener's errors and make sure instead of saying Medicare reimbursement, it says travel expense. I would move that we accept those.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Okay, Mike seconded. Have you noted those? Okay.
Yes.
And for hearing no further comments, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. We do have approval. Public comments, please.
Good morning, John Kraft. Welcome to
repeat a question I've probably asked for 3 years. I haven't asked it this way before. However, under what authority do any of our county elected officials participate in the county health insurance? I appreciate the answer.
John, that is noted, and we will, that's one of the issues that we are working on.
Thanks.
I mean, you got to understand, you may not like the answer, but I mean, at least we'll get you an answer.
As long as I get the answer. I'm
Okay. Mr. Vogt?
Morning. My name is Robert Vogt. I'm an Edgar County resident. I'd like to begin by welcoming Gary Lorenzo. From what I understand of you, Gary, you may not fit in here very well. Here's why. Some of the issues that face the board are in regards to the airport in particular. We have an airport manager named Jerry Griffin. His light on his resume said he had 5 years of experience at a flight school as a mechanic, and he didn't. That's flat out lies. Nothing has happened. He's also said that there was an accident of an airplane up there that was totaled. It happened before he took over the managerial capacity of the airport. I don't believe that's the case either. And the last part is this recent grant application, $1.1 million. He went along with everyone else and said that particular plane, which I think is in a foreign country at this moment, was still at the airport and used that justification. So, Griffin doesn't belong at the airport. He's not a good person to be at the airport. And the Airport Advisory Board Committee, which is Carl Farnham, Mike Helsley, Jeff Hoyt, done nothing about it. The county board has done nothing about it. I don't know if that is going to sit well with you or not. I can talk about the $880,000 grant. I stood before this county board on many occasions telling this board there were lies in that grant. It took the Division of Aeronautics, the FAA, Inspector General's office to bring that to a halt. They don't do that lightly. I don't know anybody, don't have any special friends, don't pay off anybody. Simply they looked at the facts and said, you guys have lost your mind, we justify it. They didn't. Now you have another airport, a bit of history, what was known as Patrick and Wells Airport, the firebombing of 2 airplanes. Funny thing about that, graffiti on the airplanes is strictly local. It's local talent at work, you think that didn't happen here. After some investigation, you might conclude otherwise. From the fall of 2014, after these planes were firebombed, this county board mandated every airplane at the airport would have $1 million in insurance, and it would name the county as additionally insured. I FOIA requested first this year to prove that wasn't the case. Nobody followed that mandate. We had 3 airport managers there that didn't do their job, or they did what they were supposed to do, is do nothing. I don't know what do nothing is. We talk about the county of about $500,000 in debt, deficit spending that always leads to higher taxes. Bills need paid, and we don't need to be borrowing money for airport projects. That's what's on the table. I think the local residents are sick and tired of taxes. I hear there's more discussion about raising taxes for schools, and I'm not on that. I'm not on board with that. John just raised the issue about health insurance. Good point. Good point. County members, elected officials can accept health insurance from the county as if they were employees, not following a due process. That means there's a big question here. From a taxpayer point of view, you guys have been taking something you shouldn't, you ought to give it back. I think that's the point that many of the taxpayers have. We don't understand why Griffin's at the airport. It does not make complete sense. We don't understand why truth can't be told here, the taxpayers of this community. We don't understand that. You may not fit in. I kind of hope you do.
Have 1 minute.
Hope your level of level. Thank you.
Thank you. Additional public comments? If not, we'll move into item 11, highway. We have a resolution to adopt an ordinance establishing a policy for posting of speed limits on county and township highways in Edgar County, Illinois. Aaron?
This is a couple years' worth of work. There's multiple manuals and resources pointing to how the county board, in its sole discretion, can establish speed limits. The manual of uniform traffic control devices, the Illinois Vehicle Code, the Illinois compiled statutes, the Illinois Department of Transportation publishes a brochure. Typically what a county does, or a county highway department will do, is they'll put together their own policy, pulling all four of those resources together and put it on the books so that the county board, again, in its sole discretion, can establish speed limits. And so item 1 will be the resolution to adopt the ordinance to establish such policy. Once the board, assuming the board does that, then items 2 and 3 will allow you in your sole discretion to establish speed limits. So item 1 is the adoption of the policy, which is, I think, a 7-chapter document that points to why and how you could do such. Any questions on it? It's pretty canned. This has happened in other counties statewide.
I noticed resolution 2 is 45 miles per hour. What is it currently?
All county roads are 55.
So that would drop all county roads
No,
down?
it's for the item 2 is for the high school road, and item 3 is for a stretch of road on Shiloh
Okay,
Road.
so that can only, it'll be 55, but only applied to certain areas as the board passes a
Only
resolution.
the areas that the board passed that we post.
Okay. What's your pleasure, gentlemen?
I'll make a motion that we
Carl Farnham
pass this.
makes a motion to adopt the resolution. Is there a second?
Second.
Derek Lorenzen seconds. Any further questions of the engineer? Assume you're ready to vote? Yes,
I
please,
think it-
Mike.
Is there like a city school zone in front of the school now?
If the city should, or if the school should request that the county board post a school zone speed limit on its portion of the jurisdiction, should the school board request it, then I'll bring it to you.
So we're talking right now from the tracks west,
Yes, sir.
correct?
What's under your jurisdiction?
Okay. My question to you is you don't know what's in front of the school right now?
It's not posted, that's correct.
Okay.
And it, as you know, at the east right-of-way line, it becomes city jurisdiction. And it's not posted.
Okay. So it's 55 right through there all the way to Ralph Park there.
No comment.
Kind of makes sense that we slow them down coming into the eventual school zone. Assume you're ready to vote. Could we have a roll call vote, Mr. Clerk?
Farnham.
Yes.
Heltzman.
Yes.
Patrick.
Yes.
Zuber.
Yes.
Bruner.
Yes.
Lorenzen.
Yes.
It's approved. Item 2, resolution to declare by ordinance a change to the maximum speed limit on CH 31 to 45 miles an hour. What's your pleasure, gentlemen?
I'll make that motion. And
Mr. Farnham?
that the county highway 31 is the high school road,
Right.
just the county section of the high school.
I'll second that.
Mr. Zuber seconds. All those in favor, this is a resolution, so would you please call the roll?
Farnham.
Yes.
Heltzley.
Yes.
Patrick.
Yes.
Zuber.
Yes.
Bruner.
Yes.
Lorenzen.
Yes.
Passes. Okay, resolution to declare by ordinance a change to the maximum speed limit on section CH 11 to 45 miles per hour. You want to tell us exactly
Yes,
what?
this is the Shiloh Road. You just passed an ordinance posting the speed limit on the entire County Highway 31, which is the piece from Cherry Point Road to the east right-of-way line. You passed the ordinance that makes that county highway 45 miles per hour. On this particular ordinance, you are saying a section of Shiloh Road, and it's from the speed limit signs, from speed limit sign to speed limit sign in the direction of the traveling public on Shiloh Road near the Redmond Road intersection. That was a situation that was brought on based upon local high accident data, and the county board's pleasure was that the highway department post signing there, and we did such. So this is just a section of the Shiloh Road in and about the Redmond Road intersection.
Questions?
Basically, it's already been posted, but
That's correct.
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Zuber moves. Is there a second, please? Andy seconds. Assuming you're ready to vote, can we have a roll call on the resolution, please?
Farnum.
Yes.
Helsley.
Yes.
Patrick.
Yes.
Zuber.
Yes.
Bruner.
Yes.
Lorenzen.
Yes.
6-0.
It's approved. Okay, final resolution under highway is resolution appropriating funds for the payment of the county engineer's salary. Aaron?
For Derek, I know the rest of you all heard this, half my salary is paid by motor fuel tax and half of my salary is paid by a swap of federal STR funds for motor fuel tax. So basically, all of my salary is paid from outside sources. Every 6 years, the county has to pass a resolution that says we will trade our STR, half our STR money for MFT money to pay the county engineer's salary. That resolution is done. Then annually, the county board has to pass another resolution that says we are in fact going to move forward with the county engineer's salary program, CESP. For the first time in my history, probably in the last 20 or 30 years, the administration at Springfield has held up that program, which is not good news for us, for a small county. So currently my salary, half of my salary is being paid out of local accounts, which is not sustainable. I was told by IDOT to go ahead and ask the board to pass this resolution, basically put it in a queue in case the in case this administration does in fact pass the county engineer's salary program. Should they do that, the county will be receiving half my salary from federal STR funds. So while you're passing this resolution, you're passing it knowing that it has not been part of any approved budget this year. However, IDOT has encouraged the highway department to take it in front of the board in the event that this does get appropriated. Any questions on that?
Thank you, Aaron.
So moved.
Dan moves the resolution. Is there a second, please? Andy seconds. Are there any further questions? Assuming you're ready to vote, would you call the resolution, please?
Farnum.
Yes.
Helsley.
Yes.
Patrick.
Yes.
Zuber.
Yes.
Bruner.
Yes.
Lorenzen.
Yes.
Resolution carries. Next, number 12, authorize chairman to cancel certificate of purchase of number 110060, parcel number 091801203227 Bristol Street, Paris, Illinois. This, you want to explain it? Or?
This is a piece of property that our tax agent, Joseph Meyer, is selling, and it'll put it back on the tax rolls. It's a fairly common thing for Joseph Meyer to do.
I'll make that motion.
Carl Farnum moves. Is there a second, please? Andy seconds. Assuming you're ready to vote, would you call the roll, please?
Farnum.
Yes.
Helsley.
Yes.
Patrick.
Yes.
Zuber.
Yes.
Bruner.
Yes.
Lorenzen.
Yes.
Resolution is adopted. Okay, we have a resolution appointing John Coy, Commissioner of Hughes Drainage District by mutual agreement of the Town of Shiloh, County of Edgar, State of Illinois. Do we have a motion to approve this resolution, please?
I'll make that motion.
Carl Farnum moves. Is there Dan Bruner seconds? Any further comment on this particular resolution? Okay, assuming you're ready to vote, Mr. Clerk, would you call the roll?
Farnum.
Yes.
Helsley.
Yes.
Patrick.
Yes.
Zuber.
Yes.
Bruner.
Yes.
Lorenzen.
Yes.
6-0.
It's adopted. Now, in an effort not to forget Augie my first time doing this, I'm going to ask Augie to go first.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and welcome and congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Would also like to welcome Derek to the board. Look forward to working with you. My office is open and available anytime for any questions, anything you may need. With that, we have hired a new employee. So today is her first day, Andrea Halloran. And so we're hoping with her addition that we'll get back up to full strength. Take a little while to get trained. Vacations have pretty well cycled through, so we got that behind us. And I believe that is it. Questions for me? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I have a question.
Please.
Is it true that nominating petitions can be picked up now?
Yes, they have been available since September 1. Prior to that, September 1st was the first day to circulate petitions. So the campaign season has officially began September 1. There's been some question as to whether or not you could actually campaign. Prior to that, there's no law that prohibits that. The only law is you cannot circulate your petition prior to September 1. So,
You know when the last date to pick them up?
well, you can pick them up anytime you want as long as you get it filed. The last day is November the 30th at 5 p.m.
Now till November 3rd.
from now until end of November.
Thank you, Augie.
Yep.
Don?
Okay. As you can see, the report in front of you. If you remember right, if you were here last month, I emphasized about how cash flow, how timely and untimely it can be. As you can see there, when we compare this to a year ago, a whole lot different situation than we had a month ago. If you want to compare apples to apples, a year ago, the only money that we had received from the state prior to the board meeting was around $58,000 in income tax money. Same number of payrolls have hit, and as far as tax distributions, it's within $2,000 of being the same. So, having said all that, very comparable to a year ago, other than we could take $58,000 away from the year prior, and you would be almost identical, apples to apples. So I would say we are considerably better off on cash flow than we were a year ago by about $250,000 to $300,000. Having said that, I don't know what my next month's report is going to reflect because, like I said, last month we were not going to be seeing some of the state funds coming in. I have not received anything yet this month. Reimbursements for salaries, sales tax, income tax, local use tax, personal property replacement tax, anything like that. All zeros. And I have not heard anything otherwise when we will be getting that. If any of you have, I would be eager to hear it from you at any time. At the notes at the bottom, I just put what you can expect coming between now and the last distribution, which is going to be sometime in November, just so you can do some projecting and see where our money is going to be coming in at. These projections have nothing to do with the penalties or anything else that we get to keep for the general fund that we accumulate during the tax season. So that will be money on top of that. As far as collections, steady. The second due date is September 25th, which is a Friday. Like all other due dates, we always have them on Fridays now. Other than that, any questions?
Thank you, Don.
Thank you.
Dina, Assessor's Office?
Jeff and I have had time to talk about this, but I wanted to make everyone aware of Senate Bill 107, which was signed by the governor a few weeks ago. This is the disabled veterans exemption. They have changed this to now make veterans that are 30 to 49% disabled due to service injury, they are now eligible for a $2,500 exemption, which did not exist before. Those who are 50 to 69% disabled were previously due a $2,500 exemption. They will now get $5,000. Disabled veterans that are 70% or more disabled due to service-related injury will be exempt from property taxes completely. It's concerning to us. Initial numbers show about $1 billion in EAB that's going to disappear due to this. So it's the law. It is what it is, and we'll move forward with it. So we're trying to determine a little more definite what this means, but it will be below.
In Edgar County or statewide?
We have 13 homes that have an assessed value of over $100,000. So, or I'm sorry, a market value of over $100,000. So these are nice homes, but due to the law, they will be completely exempt from property taxes. So just making you aware.
Any further questions? I have one, Dina. On the multi-township, are we proceeding with billing them by the end of the year, so?
Oh, yeah, payments have been received.
Okay, I wasn't sure. I just noticed in working the budget that some of those hadn't been forthcoming yet, so. But that, I was looking at a month-old figures.
Oh, okay.
All right? Thank you, Dina. Sandy? Okay. Jeff? Thank you, Sheriff. Janet?
Not really too much. Did want to announce that the Board of Health voted last month. We will be having every other month meetings now, bi-monthly rather than every month. There's not a whole lot going on in the health department right now. I will say all of our programs are still up and running at 100%. We are, as everyone, we're facing the whole state budget crisis, but due to the judge's ruling and some of the Medicaid funds being released, we are operating as usual.
Any questions of Janet? Okay, thank you. Nicole or Eric, the ambulance service?
We're finishing up our 6DMT class this Saturday. They're taking their state practical examinations, so that's good news. So more people trained.
I would note here that one or both of them will be at our next study session to discuss levy, which we do annually, and we appreciate you being there and it being productive. Thank you both. Jill, you must have a little bit to talk about since the southeastern portion of the county blew up last week.
Right. No, we conducted our hazmat drill on Thursday. It went very well. It was a lot of participants' first time, participating in an exercise. We did have something little happen on scene, so we had to end the exercise early, but it went very well, and I was very impressed with everyone, and I thank everybody for participating. And then we will be, the assistant coordinator and I will be going to Springfield tomorrow to the IEMA training conference.
Thank you. Aaron?
Jeff, I want to congratulate you on your chairmanship.
Thank
Good
you.
luck. Thank you, Derek. Thank you for serving our country. My children's uncle Dan flies in the Marine Corps.
Nice.
So they're impressed with your resume, as am I. And then furthermore, thank you for serving your county even further. So with that being said, I want to point out that the highway department is still not getting township bridge funds. We're not getting consolidated county funds. We're not getting county student salary program funds. And most importantly, we're not getting motor fuel tax allotments. So the county highway departments continues to wait on a resolution to the budget stalemate, and it's growing increasingly more problematic for us. So that's the only comments I have. We're on the edge of our seats waiting for something to happen. So congratulations, and again, thank both you guys for your service. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. I would like to add a couple comments to the department heads and elected officials. Budgets are due, or have been due. I know a couple of you got them late, so if you could get the budgets in as soon as you can, it'd be much appreciated. So, and they need to go to Don so he can put them all together so the board can start looking at it hopefully by the 21st. I know that, well, if there's any that are still missing, HRC may be missing, but that's not a huge, not that it's not a huge deal, but we can proceed with it without having them at the time. Also, and this is just me asking, if you would please watch expenditures until we see where we're at. Obviously, if you need something, I think you should get it, if you absolutely need it. But otherwise, if you could guard your purchases a little bit, you will not be penalized for it. If you hold off purchasing something this year, note it, and then we'll put it back in if we can for this coming year, depending on how the state's doing with their budget fights. So if you would please consider that, we'd appreciate it. Okay, board reports, I think, is the next item. We will be looking over the next week or so at getting you into some board committees and adjusting a few things, but we'll discuss that on the 21st, and we'll have some recommendations to the board so that it makes sense. But we'll go ahead and start. Dan?
Animal shelter, I haven't really had much chance to visit. I usually try to go out once a week, but been kind of busy, so, and Andy has not said anything, but I assume everything is running okay. Health department, after 3 months of research, investigation, phone calls, computer work, selected a engineering firm to develop the specs to replace the heating and cooling system at the health department. The savings to the county amounts to $10,000–$15,000. All the firms I had talked to, one was wanting $40,000 for the engineering specs. Another one was wanting $15,000. Another one was wanting 8 to 10% of the total cost of the project. So the firm that was selected was going to save us $10,000 to $15,000. Specs have been put in the paper, not the specs, but the bid. Last week, bids will be opened, I think, the next health department meeting, which will only be in October. And I'd like to thank Janet for all the help. We did a lot of work on it. We had people come in, we sat down and talked to them. Went through the health department building. Again, we explained basically what we needed, and so everything's to go. Hopefully, we get it done before cold weather. Not, we have to buy some space heaters. So that's where we're at the health department. It worked out very well.
Is that it, Dan?
Yes.
I do have a question.
Yeah.
And I'll try to keep these in a minimum in the future. On this sheet that Don hands out, look towards the second from the bottom, 840 on the top column. It says pet population control. That particular fund is fed by a limited amount of resources, and we're spending money we don't got, to say it in a vernacular. We need to solve that problem.
Okay.
You and Alan, who else is on that committee?
Andy.
Okay. I mean, we've got to come up with something there, because we can't, I mean, that's dipping into other funds. So I'm not sure what the answer is there, but I wanted to bring it to your attention.
We have a meeting in October, so.
Okay. And
Check it.
as far as the health department, everybody understands that whatever spent is spent out of the health department money or reserves or whatever, right?
Correct, yeah?
Okay, I just
All right. Yeah,
want to make
we've-
sure, because
We've hashed that over quite a bit.
it just warrants asking.
Okay.
Okay. Andy?
I guess big thing, Jim Moore from Creeley Roofing is coming Friday morning, do a kind of walk around with some guys and take a look at the courthouse roof. Maybe by the next study session, I'll have a little more concrete answers about what the condition is. Other than that, not much.
Did he give an indication of when they might start?
The end of this month. Yeah, the like 28th of September is when it's anticipated date. But I'll look for, have to walk
Thank you, Andy. Mr. Zuber, Alan?
Okay, the only thing is, it may have been touched on very briefly, but Mike and I, and Andy, and the Sheriff all went out to the National Institute of Corrections, planning of new institutions. We were part of 6 different groups that were out there. 2 of them from Tennessee, as I found out, one of them from East Tennessee, one from Middle Tennessee. Definitely different places, okay? Also a group from New York, a group from Northern Indiana, a group from Guam. It was set up in a 4-day format, 8 to 5 each day. Quite honestly, it took me a little bit of time to get used to that again. In fact, they were pretty good about giving us a few breaks. This system is set up in what they call 11 modules over those 4 days. And part of it, the major discussion was all the groups to really incorporate, like you were saying, Mr. Chairman, all the groups, even on this type of plan, if you're going to have the plan, before you automatically decide you're going to try to get a new jail, in our case, quite frankly, you need to have a lot of community input. And you have to have a lot of fact-finding ahead of time. You have to have a lot of data collected ahead of time. This group, set up by the federal government, really was big on planning. This is not something you just turn over the next day and say, okay, we need a new jail. Which, by the way, we did win. With all those people there, we did have the oldest jail of any of them, by at least 15 years.
Oh,
New York,
boy.
they had us for a while, but they didn't come close. We took New York down. But it is a major, major undertaking. And what I think we've had, you guys interject on, I mean, it's a 3 to 5 to possibly 7-year project to really look at this and see and look at all your different revenue sources and none, and whether or not you're shipping out certain people, you're not shipping out certain people, what your average daily attendance is, you know, why are they there, how the court systems interact. I won't go into much more, but it was 8 to 5 for 4 days, so it was very good. And like I said, I liked how they had it set up in a module thing. Again, you know, see if the facility is needed, how it's needed, or changes are needed, and then also using data as your driving point. Some of the general things from that and from jails in general, which will impact any sort of thing and also impact our current jail. You're having a continual higher percentage of female prisoners in jails, which usually necessitates more officers, quite honestly, in the jail system. Also, nationwide, and I think over here, Jeff, you correct me if I'm wrong, drug-related offenses appear to be the major reason for a rise in jail population. Not so much being arrested for drugs, but if there's anything that contribute to that, like if they're going out and stealing some drugs, that's a thing. And also, actually, prescription medication being used or being sold also. And that's kind of a nationwide thing. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. So that's kind of it on that little tour there. We are planning on a renewal of our workman's comp coming up here. Everybody's been very happy with the way it works. Matter of fact, we've been very good. Our county officials have been very good. Our elected officials and department heads have been very good as far as trying to make sure that we operate safely, if for nothing else, and we've been able to receive a few rebates back from that. So that will be coming up from a renewal basis. Possibly there may be an insurance meeting coming up about the county property appraisal. We may be doing that as a committee meeting, or I may just be meeting with Diamond or Mike or Andy, and Augie would probably like to steal you or somebody from your office. I'm not sure that they want to have a full-fledged committee meeting for that, but it may be more beneficial just to have you guys or somebody from your office and one of us there. So that's kind of it on the insurance standpoint, and I think we're all squared away on our health and stuff. So I think that's it, Jeff.
Thank you, Alan. Yes, sir.
Question.
Yes.
I know 2 weeks ago when we had our study session, we talked briefly about the conference in Denver, but you guys weren't there. I think we talked that maybe if the group that went out there could get together, you know, get some kind of presentation of what you found out and maybe where our next move is, and make a presentation to the full board so
It only takes 4 days from 8 to 5. But I'll give you breaks, Carl, all right?
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we can try to put some, it's really, that's kind of what I thought, but it's really intensive. I mean, I felt, maybe nobody else did, but I've sat in a few classes in my lifetime, I'm like, okay, and it's just like constantly going, but I think we can give an overview, a little bit about it, because like I said, I really took it as a 3 to 5 minimum, and possibly a 7-year project, which is really unique because, you're interplaying politics here. And who's here, who's not here, who's sheriff, who's not sheriff, who's interested in the county, what else you have going on in the county. I think we can give that overview, maybe at like a study session or something like that. So, or at least some samples of what we've been through. That's a good idea. The nice thing about this is the federal government's paying. So, yes, we're all paying for it, I guess, but at least it can come out of our taxpayers.
Thank you, Alan. Michael?
Nothing at this time.
Carl?
The only thing I had is we've met with the union, the road deputies union, on negotiations a couple times, and sometime next week we've got the negotiating committee and the sheriff have got to sit down and come up with a plan on the latest response, how it responds to their latest request. And then also, we don't want to forget the road jailers and dispatchers union, their contract expires also, we've got to negotiate with them also, get that started.
Thank you, Carl. We'll not ask you right now,
Don't have much.
because I bet it's a pretty short report. I did want to, the chair plans on maintaining an active role in finance, at least through this time, or the end of this fiscal year, and next, in a way. I'm going to sit down with Derek over the next few weeks and try to get him up to date on where we're at, if that's okay with you guys. We're approximately, well, I don't have the figures, I haven't been able to work them up, but through the end of September, we've got 3 months left, or we've had 75% of the year pass by. Yeah. We're at about 62% of expenditures out of 75% of the budget. So we're doing well that way. It remains to be seen how we do on income. So we are being fairly frugal. The budget is being put together. We do have a few outstanding. We'll be getting those in, and we'll be hopefully this week at least get you something. We've got a rough draft of the levy for you to look at. I might note that, of course, I haven't got HRC's and the health department's levy and what they expect, but the county levies look like they're going to fall a little, okay? Just because of requirements and so forth. So the levy funds are in good shape, and we can cut them a little bit. And our projection on what assessed value was going to be is down for a little bit. So, for example, we levy 830, but we can only take in about 811. So we're going to drop that levy a little bit because there's no growth in the equalized assessed value. So that's going to go down a little bit. So that's that.
And that will still capture all the things that we need to capture.
Yeah, it'll capture every dollar that we can. We're at, let's see, 0.027 on every 100. So we're still going to maintain that. So, but the levy itself will drop a little bit, if that makes sense. We levy more than we should have. Okay, and we could levy $1 billion and we're only going to get 811 grand. Okay, that's what I'm trying to say. At any rate, to the airport, and we're going to discuss this, but just to bring you up to date, we have a meeting next Monday night. The airport advisory board meets. We have a TIPS meeting in October set up on the 20th, where we go over and pitch our projects and hear what the state has to say and see where everything fits in. I think I've reported that our meeting with the engineers and the Department of Aeronautics went well, and there's a schedule set up, and as that gets to me and the new estimates and so forth, we'll let you know, and the committee know. But we're looking at letting in January, early February, with a construction start as soon as weather permits on the 2 aprons and the tank farm. Okay? Now, the last item is Brad Tucker sent me a very interesting letter while I was gone, highlighting several states that goes in and does wildlife planting on some of the strips in areas where you can't grow crops because of height. And what it does, if you use prairie grass in the CRP and some of that area, it discourages larger birds like geese and ducks and some of the others, so that you get down to songbirds and maybe a few pheasant, but it does decrease the size of the bird and populations that inhabit those strips. Additionally, through the farmers, you can apply for funding, which can be funneled back through us to recoup some of our lost revenue that we got because of the strips. And there's a diagram, I mean, there's a plan on how that's worked successfully in some of the other airports. And that would facilitate us planting it in a wheat crop or cover crop this fall, and then next spring getting into the plantings. So that's something that we're going to have to deal with rather shortly. But Brad has talked to the Dyerses, and they're interested in exploring it with us. So I wanted to make sure you knew what we were talking about. I've mentioned it at the meeting and talked to Carl about it, and it sounds kind of neat if it could come together. And if we can recover some of our, like I said, lost revenue and move forward and maybe be a test facility for Illinois. Our engineers don't see any problem with approaching it, but we'll see where it lasts. So we're going to discuss that. There's a chance we may be able to get an additional citizen on the board out at the airport. I'll talk to you about that, but we may be able to go to 2 board members on the advisory board as opposed to 3, and get another citizen on, which I think we all had talked about earlier and thought it was a better deal. So, at any rate, that's what's going on there. Okay? Any questions of me on finance or anything at this point?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
may I address the buildings and grounds?
Absolutely.
All of you, but buildings and grounds especially. I mentioned here a while back, I don't know if it was in the board meeting or not, but I witnessed a taxpayer approaching the front of my office with a walker and actually saw her struggling to get the door open. There's a slight incline going into our office. I would really like you to explore a push button door. I mean, at least explore it, see what we can do. I had a front row seat. I actually was pulling into the alley. Instead of jumping out and helping her, I wanted to see how, and it was a struggle. I mean, she got in, and I've known her for years. I went in and spoke with her. She never made the first complaint, but I did mention to her that I was going to look into it further, and she thought that was a good idea. So if you could at least explore that. I don't know, Mr. Clerk, are there grants out there, are there funds out there that might help?
I believe there are,
Okay.
yes.
So in the meanwhile, we'll pay out of Augie's budget, his clerk budget for this, and see if we get the money back.
Let's take it
right?
out of it.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Good idea, thank you. Are there any other committee or department heads that have forgotten something that they would like to mention?
Yeah, I would.
Please.
I would like, since Don brought up building and grounds, I would encourage the building and grounds, would like to encourage them to maybe set up a meeting so we can look over the grounds, the buildings, talk about Don's issue. That may spark some conversation about maybe doing something likewise for that here at the courthouse. So
When is your next meeting for like your
would
That'd be a good thing to
be,
entertain in at the same time.
it's the last, it'll be on the 29th.
I was just saying, would that be?
Yeah, that'd be great.
That'd be a good time.
I'd love to do that. Might
Just
consider
need to
that.
Post it.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Time.
11.
For them, yeah, 11 o'clock.
But you could make it different if you had.
Yeah.
Yes.
For
Dan.
wintertime, when snow starts flying, it might be a good idea to get some type of agreement with the city, especially at the animal shelter and around the courthouse square to help remove the snow. Remember last year, we had a big deal over that. Couldn't get a lot of it done. Is that a possibility?
Anything's possible.
That'd be nice.
Bring that up.
Good communication should help that.
And they might
Cooperation.
see what we'll do here.
Okay. Anything else? Do we have anything to come before closed session? We do. Thanks everybody for being here today. We will not take any action. If you wish to wait around, the public meeting will be reconvened after our studies, or after our closed session. Do we have a motion to move into closed session?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to go into closed session to discuss the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the public body, also possibly pending litigation, setting the price for sale or lease, property owned by public body, and negotiations.
That was moved by Mr. Zuber. Is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Carl seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, or nay, whichever. Okay, it does carry. Thank you. All right, we will be in closed session, and then we will reconvene here as soon as it's over. But no action will be taken.
Mr. Clerk?
All right, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we're back in open session. Is there any further business to come before the meeting this morning? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. Bruder, Mike, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We are out of the meeting.